Pokémon THE WINNER'S CUP. Chapter 1. Battle for the Jade Star Badge. The battle between the Kumquat gym leader, Luana, and Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town will now begin, the gym announcer said. The Jade Star Badge hangs in the balance. Ash Ketchum took a deep breath. Luana stood at the opposite end of the large gym. White lines on the floor marked out the boundaries of the battle area. Ash had come a long way since he first became a Pokémon trainer. His journey to capture and train Pokémon had led him to the far-off Orange Islands. Here, trainers could battle 4 gym leaders known as the Orange Crew to earn badges in the Orange League. So far, Ash had earned 3 badges, the Coralie Badge, the Sea Ruby Badge and the Spike Shell Badge. Earning the badges hadn't been easy. The Orange League battles revolved around strange tests of skill, rather than the traditional one-on-one Pokémon face-offs he was used to in the Indigo League. This was his final battle. If he earned his 4th badge, he could go on to compete for the Winner's Cup. Ash wondered what sort of thing he should expect. What kind of twist would Luana throw at him? According to Kumquat Gym rules, this battle will be conducted as a double battle, the announcer continued. Each trainer will battle with a team of 2 Pokémon. Ash absorbed this information. In a typical battle, 2 Pokémon would battle each other until one fainted. The Pokémon left standing was the winner. But 2 Pokémon battling together was a different story. Ash knew they'd have to look out for each other. If one of the Pokémon fainted, the battle would be over. Luana smiled. The older woman reminded Ash a little of his mother. But he knew she wouldn't go easy on him. Have you selected your Pokémon, Ash? Luana asked. She threw out 2 red and white Pokeballs. Marowak! Alakazam! I choose you, she shouted. The Pokeballs burst open, and 2 Pokémon appeared out of them. Ash recognized them both. Marowak was a ground-type Pokémon that wore a skull mask and used a bone in battle. Alakazam was a powerful Psychic-type Pokémon with long, pointed ears. It carried a spoon in each hand. Ash's friends Misty and Tracy looked at Ash with concern. Beating a Psychic-type Vid Pokémon wasn't easy. Which 2 Pokémon would Ash choose? Pikachu! His little yellow Electric-type Pokémon was eager to battle. I'll use Pikachu, of course, Ash said. And this one? Ash threw out a Pokeball. A large orange Pokémon burst out. Go, Charizard! Ash cried. Charizard stomped its big feet and flapped its majestic wings. Ash smiled confidently. With Pikachu's electric attacks and Charizard's fire power, I'll be unstoppable. Pikachu rushed out to take its place on the floor. Charizard stomped ahead of it, blocking its way. Angry sparks shot from Pikachu's cheeks. Charizard responded by shooting a stream of flame out of its mouth. Pikachu leapt up to dodge the fire. What are you 2 doing? Ash cried. You're not supposed to be fighting each other. We're here to win a badge. Ash's friend Misty shook her head. Her orange ponytail bobbed up and down. Ash's Pokémon are supposed to work as a team, she told their friend Tracy. Ash needs to get his Pokémon under control, the older boy agreed. But Ash didn't have time. Let the match begin, the announcer blared through the speaker. Alakazam, Marowak, go! Luana yelled. Alakazam and Marowak both ran to the center of the gym. Charizard, Pikachu, block their attack. Ash called out. Pikachu ran past Charizard. The fire and flying type Pokémon didn't like that at all. It burned Pikachu's lightning bolt-shaped tail with a hot flame. Pika! Pikachu cried. It held its burned tail and glared at Charizard. Stop fighting! Ash scolded the Pokémon. Charizard, tackle Alakazam. Charizard nodded. It flew across the floor, aiming right for the Psychic-type Pokémon. Alakazam, use your psychic powers to stop Charizard cold. Luana cried. A strange light began to glow in Alakazam's eyes. Beams of psychic energy enveloped Charizard. The fire-type Pokémon stopped moving in midair. The light from Alakazam's psychic attack had trapped it. Ash thought quickly. Pikachu, help Charizard, he called out. Use Thunder Shock on Alakazam. Pikachu hurled an electric blast. It accidentally hit Charizard. Car! Charizard roared as its body sizzled with electricity. Ash couldn't believe what he was seeing. Charizard and Pikachu were supposed to be working together. Watch your aim, Pikachu, he yelled. Luana smiled. You can't win a double battle unless your Pokémon work together, she said. Marowak, Boomerang. Marowak threw the bone in its hand. The bone spiraled through the air, then slammed into Charizard. The big Pokémon thudded to the floor, and the bone flew right back into Marowak's hand. Now, Alakazam, Luana cried, hit Charizard with Psychic again. Alakazam shot a Psybeam at Charizard, and the Pokémon rose into the air again, surrounded by orange light. Alakazam looked pleased. It pointed one of the spoons in its hands at Charizard, and gave it a twist. At the same moment, Charizard crashed back to the floor. Marowak threw another boomerang. The heavy bone slammed into Charizard, then returned to Marowak. Ash looked at Charizard, feeling worried. The Pokémon was taking a lot of damage. It looked severely weakened. Wrap it up, Alakazam, Luana said. Alakazam raised the spoon again, and Charizard rose up. Charizard needed help. Pikachu! Ash cried. Charizard is your friend. You have to help it. Pika? Pikachu sounded reluctant. Then it looked at Charizard, helpless under Alakazam's powers. Pikachu nodded to Ash. Electric sparks crackled as it built up a charge. Then it hurled a lightning bolt at Alakazam. For a split second, Alakazam lost control of its psychic hold on Charizard. The fire-type Pokémon landed squarely on its feet. Car, it roared. Charizard looked much stronger now. Luana turned her attention to Pikachu. Marowak, hit Pikachu with Body Slam. Marowak charged across the gym floor, head lowered. It was about to slam into Pikachu when Charizard lowered its huge wing. It knocked Marowak away. Pikachu and Charizard are starting to work together, Misty said. Charizard began to fly across the length of gym, ready to attack Alakazam and Marowak. Pikachu ran alongside Charizard, then jumped up. Char! Charizard paused and let Pikachu jump onto its back. Ash was relieved. His Pokémon were really working like a team now. But Marowak and Alakazam weren't giving up. Marowak threw another bone at Pikachu. The electric-type Pokémon ducked, and the bone missed. Pikachu responded by zapping Marowak with an electric blast. The attack had no effect. Marowak's a ground-type Pokémon, Misty said. Electric attacks won't work. This will end it, Luana said, confidently. Alakazam, Psybeam. Ash tensed. A Psybeam could easily knock out almost any Pokémon. A glowing ball of energy formed in Alakazam's mouth. The ball shot out as a beam of golden light. Climb, Charizard! Ash commanded. Charizard flew up, just missing the beam. At the same time, Marowak's bones circled back from the last attack. The bone smacked into Alakazam, sending the Pokémon falling forward. The gym floor absorbed the Psybeam. The beam zoomed across the floor, right in Marowak's path. Golden light exploded around the ground-type Pokémon. Marowak teetered back and forth, then fainted to the floor. Marowak is unable to battle, the announcer cried. Ash is the winner. Luana looked out at the battle area, shocked. Then she smiled. Congratulations, Ash, she said. You just won the Jade Star badge. Chapter 2. Stunned by Vileplume. I can't believe I earned all 4 Orange League badges, Ash told Pikachu. He and his friends were resting on a small island. Pikachu, said the little Pokémon. Pikachu was proud of its trainer. That winner's cup is going to be mine. Ash said confidently. It's the highest honor a trainer can earn in the Orange League. Pikachu nodded. Let's go and find Misty and Tracy. Ash said. I bet we can make it to the next island before dark. Sometimes Ash didn't know where he'd be without his friends. Misty had been traveling with him since he started his Pokémon journey. She got impatient with Ash a lot, and Ash teased her just as much. But they had been through a lot together. Ash and Misty had met Tracy when they came to the Orange Islands. It happened right after their good friend Brock left box them to study with Professor Ivy, a Pokémon breeder. Tracy kind of invited himself along. Ash didn't mind. Tracy's Pokémon, Marill, Venonat and Scyther, had proved useful in many situations. And Tracy knew a lot about Pokémon. Ash and Pikachu found Tracy kneeling in a clearing. Tracy brushed a strand of dark hair away from his face. As a Pokémon watcher, Tracy was always looking for Pokémon to study. Today he was sketching a sleeping Vileplume. Vileplume had a squat, blue body and a huge red flower on top of its head. In the center of the flower was a hollow of the stalk. Ash had seen the combination poison and grass-type Pokémon before, but never one this large. Excited, Ash ran to his friend. That's a pretty cool Vilewoaha. Ash tripped over a rock. He tumbled, boss knocking into Tracy. The two boys fell into the stalk on top of Vileplume's head. Vileplume woke with a start. Thinking it was under attack, it pushed Ash and Tracy out of the stalk. They flew up in the air, then crashed onto the grass. Then Vileplume showered them both with a foul-smelling orange dust. Ash and Tracy coughed and choked. Then they fell to the ground. The next thing Ash remembered, he was lying in a hut. Pikachu was leaning over him, looking worried. Misty pressed a cold cloth to his forehead. He felt like he was burning up. Ash tried to sit up, but he couldn't. I can't move, he said weakly. His arms and legs felt paralyzed. You inhaled Vileplume's stun spore, Misty said, concerned. There's no Pokémon Center on this island. I'm not sure how to get you the antidote you need. Tracy was lying next to Ash. He struggled to talk. The Pokédex, he said. Right. Misty said. She took Dexter, Ash's Pokédex, from his backpack. Dexter was a small computer that held information about all kinds of Pokémon. Misty asked Dexter about Vileplume's attack. She found out that salveoweed would cure the effects of stun spore. Then another picture appeared on Dexter's screen. It was a small, purple Pokémon with a round body, a flat tail and a spiral on its stomach. It was a Poliwag. We'll find it, Misty said. She grabbed Togepi, her tiny Pokémon that still wore an eggshell. She ran to the door. Pikachu! Pikachu wanted to go, too. You need to stay here and watch Ash and Tracy, Pikachu Misty said. But I'll be right back. I promise. Pika Pikachu agreed, but it was clearly disappointed. Misty ran down the sandy trail. I think I saw a lake when we were out walking before, she told Togepi. There must be some salveoweed there. Soon they came to a clear, blue lake that stretched as far as she could see. It would take Misty all day to search the bottom of it. How are we going to do this without a Poliwag? Misty said. Let's try to find one. Togepi! Togepi chirped. They didn't have to look far. At that moment, a little purple Pokémon came running through the trees. Poliwag! Misty cried. Oh, look at its big, round eyes. You're so cute. Togepi smiled happily. But the Poliwag didn't look happy. It hid behind Misty's legs, trembling. Misty saw that it was afraid. What's the matter, Poliwag? Misty asked. Hand over that Poliwag, a voice cried. Misty spun around. A young man with blue hair came running out of the trees. He wore a white uniform with a red R on the front. Alongside him ran Meowth, a white scratch cat Pokémon. James! Misty cried. James was part of Team Rocket, Pokémon thieves who were always chasing Misty and her friends. What are you doing here? We want that Poliwag, Meowth said. Well, this Poliwag doesn't want to go with you, Misty replied. Poliwag whimpered. Meowth and James looked at each other. There's no use being polite with this Poliwag, Meowth said. Right. We'll just have to take it, James said. He threw a red and white Pokeball. Victory Bell, go! A Pokémon as tall as James burst from the Pokeball. Victory Bell looked like a yellow, bell-shaped plant. Victory Bell tried to swallow James. Not me, James cried. Attack them! Victory Bell spat James out. Then it bounced across the grass, towards Misty and Poliwag. Misty was ready. She threw a Pokeball. Go, Goldeen, she cried. Chapter 3. Misty vs. James. A frilly goldfish Pokémon appeared in a flash of white light. Goldeen looked pretty and delicate, but it had a fierce horn on its forehead. Victory Bell, Razor Leaf. James commanded his Pokémon. Sharp green leaves flew out from Victory Bell's bell-shaped flower and towards Goldeen. The goldfish Pokémon splashed into the lake to avoid them. Victory Bell jumped off the shore. Goldeen rose up out of the water, slamming Victory Bell with its horn. Victory Bell flew up in the air. As it came down, Goldeen smacked into the grass-and poison-type Pokémon once again. Goldeen, Fury Attack! Misty cried. Bam! 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 Goldeen jumped out of the water again and again, each time smacking Victory Bell with its horn. With one final slam, Goldeen deposited Victory Bell back on shore. The Pokémon was looking very tired and weak. James frowned. He held out a Pokeball. Return, Victory Bell, he said. Victory Bell disappeared inside the ball. Togi! Togi! Polly! Polly! Togepi and Poliwag gave a happy cheer. But James wasn't finished. Go, Weezing! He said, throwing another Pokeball. Weezing, a poison-type Pokémon, looked like a purple cloud with two heads. Weezing! Weezing, it moaned as it burst out of the Pokeball. Misty didn't miss a beat. Go, Stereo, she cried, throwing a Pokeball. A 5-pointed star-shaped Pokémon appeared. Stereo had a red jewel in its middle. Stereo, tackle! Misty called out. Weezing, tackle, James countered. Weezing and Stereo flew at each other. Slam! They collided in midair. Slam! Another tackle. Slam! They crashed into each other again. Weezing, smog attack, shouted James. Weezing belched out a thick cloud of black smog. The putrid smoke covered Stereo. Misty knew what to do. Stereo, double edge, she shouted at her Pokémon. Stereo spun wildly around and around, creating a strong wind. The wind quickly cleared the smog. Stereo spun faster and faster. Then it zoomed through the air and a beeb slammed into Weezing. Weezing! The poison-type Pokémon soared away. You did it, Stereo. Meowth faced Misty angrily. I guess it's up to me, it said. Misty recalled Stereo. She threw out a third ball. Go, Psyduck! A chubby yellow Pokémon that looked a bit like a duck popped out. Meowth grinned. Getting rid of this bird brain will be easy, the Scratch Cat Pokémon said. Scratch attack! Meowth lunged at Psyduck, its claws bared. It scratched Psyduck across the face. Sigh, sigh. Psyduck didn't seem in the least bothered by Meowth's fury swipe. Meowth frowned. Now I'll use Bite. It yelled at Misty threateningly. Meowth opened its mouth wide and tried to bite Psyduck's big head. Sigh. Sigh, Psyduck moaned. Its eyes began to blink rapidly. That's it, Psyduck, Misty shouted encouragingly. Use Disable. Psyduck blinked. A light glowed on its head. Then the light covered Meowth. I can't move. Meowth cried, frozen in light. Now use Confusion, Misty told Psyduck. Sigh. Psyduck cried. A bright light flashed, and Meowth went careening backwards. It crashed into James. The two fell to the ground in a faint. Slowly, Meowth and James got up. I can't believe we lost to a little twerp like her, Meowth complained. All we were trying to do was find some salvia weed to help Jessie, James said. Meowth and James sulked away. Good battle, Psyduck, Misty said, recalling her water-type Pokémon. But we really need to find that salvia weed for Ash and Tracy. Poliwag rubbed itself against Misty's legs affectionately. Poliwag, do you think you can do us a favor? Misty asked. Poliwag nodded. We need to find some salvia weed. She showed it the picture in the Pokédex. Do you know where we can find some? Polly! Poliwag said excitedly. It jumped into the lake. A moment later, Poliwag swam back with strands of the green plant in its mouth. All right, Misty said. Misty called on Stereo again. Let's go! Poliwag dived back into the water. Misty held onto Stereo's back as they dived down to the lake bottom. Clumps of salvia weed grew along the sandy floor. Misty, Stereo and Poliwag gathered as much of the plant as they could. Then they swam back to the shore. We've got what we need, Misty said. Let's get to Ash and Tracy. Before leaving, Misty placed a pile of the salvia weed on the shore. Togi? Togepi wondered. We may be enemies, but I can't turn my back on someone in trouble, Misty said. Team Rocket can use this to help Jessie. Poliwag followed them back to the hut. Pikachu! Pikachu was relieved to see them returning. Misty quickly boiled the plant in fresh water. She gave Ash and Tracy a cup of the hot liquid. As the liquid slipped down his throat, Ash could feel the sensation coming back to his arms and legs. His whole body felt cooler. He sat up. Sorry it took me so long, Misty said. She told Tracy and Ash about her battle with James. Tracy sat up next. He noticed Poliwag. Looks like you've caught a Poliwag, Tracy said. I guess I did, Misty admitted. She turned to Poliwag. How would you like to come along with me and Togepi? Polly! Polly! Poliwag said happily. Togepi chirped and gave the water-type Pokémon a hug. Ash stood up and stretched his arms. I hope your new Poliwag is ready to go, Ash said. I've got a winner's cup to win. Chapter 4. Pomelo Island. Soon, Ash and his friends were riding on the back of Lapras, Ash's large blue water and ice-type Pokémon. An island rose out of the ocean a short distance away. Ash could see a round stadium on top of the island. It's Pomelo Island, Ash said. Pomelo Stadium is where the battle for the Winner's Cup is held. We're here, Pikachu. Pikachu jumped up on Ash's shoulder. Pikachu, it said happily. Lapras was just reaching the shore. Ash was so excited that he ran into town as soon as Lapras was safely back in its Pokeball. He couldn't wait to get started. Ash's friends followed him into the stadium office. A man with gray hair and a mustache stood behind a counter. A badge on his jacket read Tournament Clerk. I've come to apply to enter the Orange League, Ash told him. He showed the clerk all 4 of the Orange League badges he had earned. All 4 of the badges were shaped like seashells with jewels in the middle. They proved that Ash had defeated the Orange Crew, the 4 main Orange League gym leaders. The tournament clerk took out a small handheld scanner and held it over each badge. The scanner beeped every time. Well, all 4 badges check out, he said, smiling. That qualifies you to compete for the Winner's Cup. All right, Ash said. Hey, Ash, look at this, Tracy said. In the corner of the office sat a small, stone statue of a dragon-type Pokémon. I wonder what kind of Pokémon this is. The clerk smiled again. Your match is tomorrow, Ash, he said. Let me show you and your friends the Palace of Victory. Ash and the others followed the old man down the street to a round building with a domed roof. Inside, the walls were lined with photos of Pokémon trainers and stone tablets with Pokémon footprints in them. These photos are here to honor those who have won the Orange League Winner's Cup, the tournament clerk said. In order to enter the hall, you have to defeat the leader of Pomelo Stadium in a full battle. A full battle? Ash asked. What's that? That's a 6-on-6 battle, replied the clerk. 6 of your Pokémon against 6 of the leader's Pokémon. The 6 Pokémon too take turns battling. A trainer can recall a Pokémon if it gets weak and use it again later. Of course, if a Pokémon faints, it's out of the battle. The battle ends when all 6 of one trainer's Pokémon have fainted. That's a long battle, Tracy told Ash. You'll have to think carefully about which types you'll use. Tracy pointed to another statue of the dragon-type Pokémon. Excuse me, sir. What kind of Pokémon is that? It's a Dragonite, the clerk replied. The legendary Pokémon that guards this island. I knew it! Tracy said. Ash took out his Pokédex. Dragonite, the dragon and flying-type Pokémon, Dexter said. This extremely rare species is able to fly faster than any other Pokémon. Drake, the leader of Pomelo Stadium, commands a Dragonite, the clerk said. He does? Ash asked a little nervously. He'd never battled a Dragonite before. He knew they were pretty powerful. No one has won the Winner's Cup since Drake arrived, said the tournament clerk. Wow, Ash, Misty said. You've got a big challenge ahead of you. One of your biggest ever. It's going to be tough. You can say that again. Ash said. I'd better go and work out a strategy. The friends headed to the local Pokémon Center. Once they were inside, Ash let his Pokémon out of their Pokeballs. Wake up, everybody! Ash cried. Charizard appeared and stomped its feet. Then came Bulbasaur, a grass and poison Pokémon. Lapras burst out and shot-type a stream of water from its mouth. Squirtle, a cute turtle Pokémon, squirted water with Lapras. Pikachu joined them by shooting electric sparks into the air. Then came Ash's 6th Pokémon, Snorlax. The enormous Pokémon was sound asleep. Snorlax just had a big meal 1 hour ago, Tracy reminded him. It only wakes up when it's hungry. It probably won't wake up in time for the competition. You're right. Ash said. He put Snorlax back in its Pokeball. I'll see if I can get one of my other Pokémon from Professor Oak. Professor Oak had started Ash on his Pokémon journey by giving him a Pokédex and his very first Pokémon, Pikachu. Because Pokémon trainers were only allowed to carry 6 Pokémons at a time, Ash's extra Pokémon were in the professor's care. Ash explained his problem to Professor Oak over a video phone. Are you sure you want to use a Pokémon you haven't used before? Professor Oak asked. Pokémon battle better when they know their trainers. I don't have a choice, Ash said. Besides, you've been training them, haven't you? Oh, I suppose, Professor Oak said. He paused for a moment, looking thoughtful. Then he said, you could use Mook or Tauros. The wild bull Pokémon walked up to Professor Oak and snorted. Ash had caught his Tauros in the Safari Zone. He had never used it in battle. But it was a strong, solid Pokémon. It would make a good replacement for Snorlax. I choose Tauros. Ash said. Great, said Professor Oak, smiling. Then let's make the exchange. Next to the video phone was a Pokeball transfer machine. Ash placed Snorlax's Pokeball on a metal platform. White light. Zapped it from above. It vanished. Then more light zapped the platform. Another Pokeball appeared. Ash threw out the Pokeball. Tauros, I choose you. The brown Pokémon appeared in a flash of light. It snorted and pawed its front leg. It waved all 3 of its tails. That's a nice Tauros, Ash, Tracy said. It sure is, Ash said. And with its help, I'm going to win the match tomorrow. Chapter 5. Ditto starts the battle. Pomelo Stadium is pulsing with energy as it welcomes a new challenger, said the announcer. Not one challenging trainer has beaten Drake, the stadium leader, since he began his reign of domination. Opposing him is Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. Will Ash be able to do what no one else has? Ash stepped out of a doorway into the open-air stadium. Pikachu walked at his side. Every seat in the stadium was full. A huge statue of a Dragonite overlooked the battlefield. A large scoreboard overhead flashed pictures of Ash and Drake. A tall, muscular man with black hair stepped out of the opposite doorway. Drake wore a sleeveless red shirt. Around his neck hung a Pokeball on a chain. So this is the guy who can handle a Dragonite, Ash thought, sizing up his opponent. The two trainers met on the sidelines, and the large crowd went wild. Ash and Drake shook hands. "Welcome to the Orange League Winners' Cup," Drake said. "I'm happy to be here," Ash replied. A judge in an orange shirt stepped in between them. "The battle will be 6-on-6, he said. "The challenger can switch Pokémon at any point during the battle. And a field change will occur when any 3 of one trainer's Pokémon become unable to battle." "Field change?" Ash asked. At that moment, the stadium floor opened up. 2 halves of the floor split apart, revealing a large pit underneath. A new field rose up from the bottom of the pit. This field was dotted with rocks and huge boulders. A pool of water shaped like a Pokeball sat in the center. "The first field will be a rock and water field," the announcer blared. Ash studied the field's rocky surface. This was going to be harder than he thought. "The battle is about to begin," the announcer said. "Pay attention to which Pokémon each trainer chooses." Ash and Drake took their positions on opposite sides of the field. Drake held up a Pokeball. "See what you can do against my first pick," Drake said, tossing the ball in the air. A pink, blobby-looking Pokémon burst out from the ball. It landed on a tall boulder. "A Ditto!" Ash exclaimed. A picture of Ditto lit up on the scoreboard, next to Drake's picture. With its one and only technique, Transform, Ditto can turn into any Pokémon the trainer wishes, said the announcer. "This is a tough one," Tracy said. He and Misty watched from the first row. "You're right," Misty agreed. "It won't matter what type of Pokémon Ash chooses at all. Ditto can mimic its opponent's attacks." Ash wanted to start out strong. He turned to Pikachu. "Pikachu, decide this with a powerful electric charge." Pikachu's picture lit up on the scoreboard. "Pika! Pika!" Pikachu nodded excitedly. It was eager to battle. Pikachu jumped energetically onto a tall rock. Sparks crackled around its face as it gathered energy for the attack. "Ditto, transform!" Drake yelled. White light glowed around Ditto. Its blobby form started to take shape. When the light faded, a little yellow Pokémon stood on the boulder. "Ditto has taken the form of a Pikachu," the announcer cried in amazement. "Talk about seeing double." Ash understood Drake's strategy. Now Ditto could use all of the attacks that Pikachu could. The 2 Pokémon would be evenly matched. Pikachu hurled a huge bolt of sizzling electricity at Ditto. Ditto absorbed the energy. When the attack was over, Ditto looked as strong as ever. "What was Ash thinking?" the announcer asked. "Responding to an electric attack with another electric attack is useless." They cancel each other out. Ditto countered the attack with a thunder shock. The huge lightning blast electrified Pikachu. But Pikachu wasn't shaken by the charge. "Won't these guys learn?" groaned the announcer into the speaker. But Ash wasn't ready to change his strategy, no matter what the loudmouthed announcer thought. "Pikachu, thunder shock!" Ash cried. Drake followed Ash's lead. "Ditto! Thunder shock!" The two Pokémon aimed jagged lightning blasts at one another. The two massive bolts met in the air, creating a huge explosion. The backlash caused the high rock Pikachu was standing on to crumble to pieces. Ditto's rock was falling apart, too. "Ditto, go with the flow!" Drake commanded his Pokémon. Ditto quickly regained its balance and started jumping nimbly from one piece of falling rock to the next. It landed safely on another tall rock. At the same time, Ash wasn't sure how to command Pikachu. Pikachu fell to the harsh field below. The lightning mouse looked battered and shaken, but it wasn't out yet. "Ouch! That's gotta hurt," the announcer said. Too bad Ash didn't read the field better. He could be losing his cool. "I am not losing my cool," Ash shouted. "Hold it together, Ash," Tracy called out. Ash tried to calm down and think of the best strategy to use next. "Ditto is Ditto and Pikachu is Pikachu," Ash said aloud. "There must be some way to beat it." Drake wasn't taking any breaks. "Ditto, agility," he yelled. Ditto started to run across the rock field, quickly darting back and forth. "Pikachu, thunder shock," Ash called. Pikachu aimed another lightning bolt at Ditto. But it expertly moved out of the way. "Ditto, thunder," Drake countered. Ditto aimed another electric attack at Pikachu. Pikachu ducked, missing the blast. "Ditto is Ditto," Ash reminded himself. Then suddenly, he knew what to do. "Pikachu, quick attack," he ordered. "Ditto, quick attack," Drake repeated, just as Ash knew he would. Pikachu and Ditto ran across the field at each other. They jumped high in the air, then slammed together. Electric sparks flew. "Pikachu and Ditto collide," the announcer said, as the crowd gasped. Pikachu and Ditto both fell to the ground. Ditto looked very weak, but Pikachu was still jumping around with lots of energy. "Now, Pikachu!" Ash yelled. Pikachu zapped Ditto again with thunder shock. This time, the charge finally took its toll. Ditto changed from a Pikachu back to its own form. "Ditto is down." Its transform broke down, thanks to the impact of that collision, the announcer reported. Ditto reeled back and forth. Then it collapsed in a faint. "Ditto is unable to battle," said the judge. "It's goodbye to the little pink guy," the announcer said. "Pikachu wins this round." The crowd cheered. Ditto's picture on the scoreboard went dark. "I get it," Tracy said. "Ditto can copy the attacks of other Pokémon. But when it comes to taking punishment, it's stuck with its own powers." So Pikachu was much better prepared for the collision. "Good work, Ditto," Drake told his Pokémon. "Return!" Drake threw out another Pokeball. A Pokémon that looked like a huge serpent made of rocks slammed onto the battlefield. Drake has chosen an Onix. This rock and ground type Pokémon is rock solid against electric attacks.